18年10月14日
The 1943 Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines, composed of a preamble and 12 articles, creates a republican state with a powerful executive branch and subordinate legislative and judicial branches. The executive power is vested in the President, who is to be elected by the member of the National Assembly from among themselves. The President is the head of government and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. The powers of the President are to veto any bill of the Assembly, to promulgate regulations when the Assembly is not in session, and in times of war or national emergency, to declare martial law, to suspend the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus, and to appoint the members of the Council of State and official of the local government.
The 1943 Constitution Preamble. We, the Filipino people, imploring the aid of divine providence and desiring to lead a free national existence, do hereby proclaim their independence, and in order to establish a government that shall promote the welfare, conserve and develop the patrimony of the nation, and contribute to the creation of a world order based on peace, liberty, and moral justice, do ordain this Constitution.
Article 1, the Republic of the Philippines. The Article 2, the Executive. The Article 3, the Legislature.
Article 4, the Judiciary. Article 5, Impeachment. Article 6, Citizenship.
Article 7, Duties and Rights of the Citizen. Article 8, Conservation and Utilization of Natural Resources. Article 9, General Provisions.
Article 10, Amendments. Article 11, Transitory Provisions. Article 12, Special Provisions.
Assembly whose member, like the President, are not directly elected by the people. Rather, the Assembly is to be composed of representatives from each province elected in Calibapi conventions throughout the country with appointed governors and mayors as ex officio members. The judicial power of exercised by the Supreme Court, whose justice together with judges of lower court are to be appointed by the President. The 1943 Constitution enumerates the duties and rights of the citizens, requires the government to develop Tagalog as national language, and stipulates that 1 year after termination of the Great East Asia War of the World War II, a new constitution shall be formulated and adopted to replace this constitution.
The 1943 Constitution was the constitution of the Japanese-sponsored Second Republic of the Philippines, 1943 to 1945. It was recognized as legitimate and binding only in Japanese control.
The Japanese monitored the drafting of the Constitution and instructed the members of PCPI, led by Jose P. Laurel. The Constitution should conform with the principles of the Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere. In September 1943, the draft Constitution was unanimously approved by all members of the PCPI and was submitted for ratification in the Popular Convention of the Calibapi in Manila.
We shall dock at Pier 7.
a new double-decked concrete structure 1,000 feet long, built and maintained by the Philippine government. Awaiting us is the famous 80-piece Philippine Constabulary Band, winner of the grand prize at the St. Louis Exposition.
On March 22, 1897, the Tejeros Convention was held in order to reconcile the differences between the two factions of Katipunan. The Magdalo, which viewed Emilio Aguinaldo as its leader, and the Magdiwang, which gravitated towards Andres Bonifacio. The outcome was a decision that the Katipunan should be dissolved and revolutionary government established. Elections were held for its officers. Emilio Aguinaldo was elected president and Andres Bonifacio, the former leader of the Katipunan, was held director of the Interior. Initially, Bonifacio accepted his position, but was insulted when Daniel Tarona objected. Bonifacio declared the proceedings of the Tejeros Convention null and void and established a new government. This was seen as an act of treason by the others, and Bonifacio was charged with refusing to recognize newly established revolutionary government. He was arrested and sentenced to death on Maragondon, Cavite. The revolutionary government, led by Aguinaldo, continued the revolution against the Spaniards. At these points, the Spaniards were of impression that the revolution was in decline and concentrate their efforts on pursuing Aguinaldo and his companions. By the latter part of 1897, Aguinaldo was forced by advising Spanish forces to retreat the mountains of Biak na Bato.
On November 1st of 1897, Aguinaldo, along with several revolutionaries, convened a citizen assembly in order to draft a provisional constitution for the Philippines, which has come to be known as the Constitution of Biak na Bato. The government established was to be headed by a Supreme Council composed of a president, vice president, and 4 secretaries empowered to govern. However, this plan never materialized because Aguinaldo entered into negotiation with the Spanish government. This resulted in an agreement under which Philippine revolutionaries would go into exile in Hong Kong and surrender their arms in exchange for financial indemnities and pardons. The Pact of Biak na Bato, as it would later be called, was signed on December 15, 1987. And Aguinaldo, the revolutionaries, departed for Hong Kong on December 24, 1897. In Hong Kong, Aguinaldo and his companion established a junta, which worked toward continuing the revolution and gaining freedom from the Spaniards. With the outbreak of the Spanish-American War, Aguinaldo, with member of Hong Kong junta, returned to the Philippines in the middle of 1898 to continue the revolution. On May 28, 1898, the Philippine flag was unfurled for the first time at the Battle of Alapan. Philippine independence was formally proclaimed on June 12, 1898, when Aguinaldo waved the flag in Kawit, Cavite and was declared dictator. There, the Philippine national anthem was also played for the first time.
January 23, 2013 marks the 114th anniversary of the First Republic of the Philippines that was inaugurated in Malolos, Bulacan. It also marks the anniversary of the start of the presidency of Emilio Aguinaldo, the first president of the Philippines. The Malolos Republic was the culmination of the Philippine Revolution, which began with the Katipunan and led to the creation of First Constitution and Republican Government of Asia. To commemorate this, President Benigno S. Aquino III, by virtue of Proclamation Number 533, Sector 2013, declared January 23 of every year as Araw ng Republikang Pilipino.
6 days after the proclamation of independence, Aguinaldo issued a proclamation formalizing the creation of a dictatorial government responsible for assessing the needs of the country. The dictatorial government would last for only 5 days. Upon the advice of Apollinario Mabini, Aguinaldo issued a subsequent proclamation abolishing it and establishing a revolutionary government instead. Aguinaldo's title was changed from dictator to the president of the revolutionary government and captain general of its army. According to Mabini, this was done in order to prevent other provinces from viewing Aguinaldo's dictatorial authority with suspicion. The proclamation also created a revolutionary congress to draft a constitution for the government. On August 1, 1899, the Proclamation of Independence was ratified by the provincial delegates in order to legitimize the revolutionary government. On September 15, 1899, the Revolutionary Congress was convened in Malolos, Bulacan, tasked with drafting the Constitution for the Philippines. The Congress was composed of both appointed and elected delegates representing all provinces of the Philippines. In the inaugural session of the Congress, Aguinaldo spoke and congratulated the delegates in the capacity as President of the Revolutionary Government. One of its first actions was to ratify the June 12, 1899 Proclamation of Independence yet again. The Malolos Congress approved the draft constitution on November 23, 1898, and promulgated by President Emilio Aguinaldo on January 21, 1899.
The Constitution provided 3 branches of government: an executive headed by the President and composed of department secretaries, a legislature headed by the Prime Minister and composed of delegates from provinces of the Philippines, and a judiciary headed by the President of the Supreme Court and his justices. The Congress, as representatives of the different provinces of the Philippines, then elected Aguinaldo as President of the Philippines. He was inaugurated on January 23, 1899, and on the same day, the First Republic of the Philippines was formally established with the full attributes of state, with 3 branches of government, a constitution, and a territory under the authority of government with an army.
In Manila Bay. Faced with defeat, the Philippines was ceded to the United States by Spain in 1898 after a payment of $20 million to Spain in accordance with the Treaty of Paris, ending the Spanish.
The Constitution, American Era. During the American occupation, the Philippines were governed by the laws of the United States of America. Organic acts were passed by the United States Congress for the administration of the government of the Philippine Islands. The first was the Philippine Organic Act of 1902, which provided for a Philippine Assembly composed of Filipino citizens. The second was the Philippine Autonomy Act of 1916, which included the first pledge of the Philippine independence. These laws served as Constitution of the Philippines from 1902 to 1935.
During the American occupation, the Philippines was governed by the laws of the United States of America. Organic acts were passed by the United States Congress for the administration of the government of the Philippine Islands. The first was the Philippine Organic Act of 1902, which provided for a Philippine Assembly composed of Filipino citizens. The second was the Philippine Autonomy Act of 1916, which included the first pledge of Philippine independence. These laws served as Constitution of the Philippines from 1902 to